So I'm going to work on taking this inner fender out, that you see there. I need to remove it to access this exhaust manifold on this side, so I can get to the bolts. That one. There we go. Back side just has a couple zip ties in it. Its plates off. Side. Oh, is it really not 3/8 in the backside? No. It's one of those. 3/8 on the front, 7/16 on the back. Look at it. Way longer than this. And now, repeat on the opposite side. Well, inner fender is loose, as you can see. I am just held up by this one rusty bolt up in there that comes through this little bracket. It is actually the reason why I haven't done this yet, because that bolt is underneath of the flooring inside. So I'm gonna have to address that. What I chose to do is just notch out the plastic fender well around that rusty bracket, and we'll secure it in a different spot later. Just kind of spinning this out. Rotate it right over the fender. Slide it down. Put that to the side. Now, we can access this exhaust manifold pretty easily. You can see where I've had to temporarily patch it to get us home when we were in Flagstaff. Had about 3 hours to drive home, and this exhaust manifold is completely broken half there. And the exhaust putty I used to patch it, well, it worked to get us back, so I can't complain, but it needs to be replaced now. So I'm gonna get what I need for it. Alright, well, I started it up for a few minutes. I'm gonna let it run and get up to operating temperature, because you want these bolts, engine block, everything about as warm as you can get it before you start messing with these bolts. Most of the time, it can help them come out a lot easier. I don't know when the last time they were removed, so I'm gonna do everything I can to avoid breaking one. That's the last thing I want. Have the manifold and everything. I have to replace the bolt with new ones. That's minor. Sounds good though. This bus hasn't been running in at least a couple months probably. I'm gonna put the impact on these bolts and see if I can get them bugged off. moved. One all the way up front. Don't think I'll be able to give it the impact. Oh, this thing's heavy. Alright, that one moved. There's the last one on the back here. Sorry for getting away. It is also moving. Great news. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to do that one, but I think we can get that one by hand. Shut it down and get everything I need to get that last bolt all the way up front there. Shut it down. I'm going to try to break this front one loose. It is easiest to get to it from up here in the engine compartment in the front. I'm going to work it from there. Oh yeah, it's coming. Since this one's so hard to get to, I'm just going to put it on the out. Work this back and forth a little bit. It's usually the best method to try to get these out of here. If you try to go all at once, you might as well snag, mess up the threads, break the bolt, all that not fun stuff. It's coming. Slowly. Back and forth, back and forth. It takes time, but it's better than having to do a busted bolt. I promise. Play this by feel. If it starts to get tight on you all of a sudden, back it up. Keep going back and forth. This is feeling alright. Turn it back just a little bit. minutes now before I take it all the way. Very nice. I'm going to go back to using the impact on these other ones just because I can work it back and forth with it. Apologize for the noise. Alright, that one's out. Forth. One more out. Slip that back in a little bit for now. Last two. Yeah. Whew. This electric gun is not right. Good, so that one back in a little bit. Something to hold it in place. Alrighty. Alright. That's all of them. Shut this off and take these heat shields out. Also got to take the EGR tube off. It's up in here. There you go. You can see that. I think I'll have to crawl underneath, put a wrench on it to disconnect that. But the bolts were the hard part. Alright, well, got the wrench on it. It's 1 inch for that fitting, but both fittings, the one that threads into the manifold and then the fitting on the tube that threads into the fitting that threads into the manifold, are trying to spin together. So I put a little blaster on them. I'm going to try and heat it up with a torch now that it's been sitting for a few, and try again, see how that works. Torch went out. Eventually, we'll get it again. Just want to be very careful. We're using the torch. Keep that nut up basically. It's on the EGR tube. If I can get it hotter than the fitting that it's attached to, it will expand a bit and hopefully come off much easier. I'll let you know what happens. Well, I did get it to come off the manifold, not how it's supposed to though. The threaded portion the fitting screws onto, or the threads of the fitting, broke off in the manifold. As you can kind of see there. I can get that out of the tube, out of this nut section, later after I get the manifold off, but looks like I'm gonna have to get a new fitting. I think the new manifold might even come with that fitting, so I'm not too stressed over it. Now I need to get these bolts here that hold the down pipes on to the exhaust manifold, or down pipe, since I'm only doing one here. So I'm gonna spray those and wrestle with them for a few minutes. I don't think I'll be able to get the camera in there, but if I can, I will. Alrighty, well, I got those nuts off, and the exhaust pipe is now disconnected from the manifold. Let's see if I can show you what I was working with there. It was very crusty. Oops. There's the flange that holds the pipe up onto the manifold. I don't think I'll be able to get this all the way in there, but you get the idea. These nuts were very rusted. I'm glad that I did not have to cut them or anything like that. You can see here on this one, like, part of it was even like ate away, but glad that it come off. And so far this is going well. Got everything out that needs to be taken out. Now I can go through the process of removing the heat shields, taking the bolts out, and pull the manifold off. I'll probably stuff some rags in those exhaust ports for now while I run to town later and get some new bolts, because we're definitely not reusing those, and possibly some new nuts too. I'll have to look at the manifold, see what it comes with, but check back in a few. I got this manifold out now, and you can see how bad this crack is. It's actually not completely busted off like the other side did. This is pretty much the same exact spot that the other one broke, but it does wrap all the way around, but this seam here is actually about all that's holding it together. It's busted all the way around. You can see that crack, but still hanging on, barely. The other side, when it finally gave out, it was completely broke off. Those were two separate pieces. But got it out. I'm gonna collect my bolts. This fitting that busted off in here, the new manifold comes with that, so that's great. Comes with these new studs, the nuts, the little gasket that goes in there. This new gasket. So other than the bolts, I think we've got everything that's needed. So gonna run in town, grab these bolts, and I'll be back. I'm fiddling around with this EGR tube, trying to get this busted fitting out that you can see there. I showed earlier. Yeah, I've heated it with the torch, put a socket on the thin fitting that's busted off, and tried to get it out with the impact while holding the other end with the wrench. It is not budging at all. So what I'm going to try to do is just access the other end of this tube, see if I can pull the whole thing out and work on it with it out of the vehicle. But unfortunately I have to take the serpentine belt off, the AC compressor up there, in order to get to the other end of that tube. You can see it, that black fabric covered tube is it, and it comes down in there, and you can't even see the other end of it until I get that compressor removed. But I'm gonna start working on that. That's really the only thing holding me up from going to town right now. But I'd rather fight with this thing than fight with a busted bolt. So I'll keep you updated. I took that EGR tube off, that back paper towel there, that one is actually where the port is, and it runs up alongside of that valve cover and comes down on the side of the motor where we were working earlier. You kind of see it down there. But anyway, I also took the EGR valve out. That's where that paper towel is, because I was having some problems with it sticking, and I wanted to clean it while I had everything else out of here anyway. So I actually managed to get that fitting out of that line, so it is now reusable. And this is the EGR valve. I've had it soaking with carb choke parts cleaner stuff, and managed to get it freed up. It's also soaking in a mixture of this transmission fluid and some other stuff that I mixed together to get that fitting free. But it works as it should now. And I can put it back in. Our gasket surface is all cleaned out. Got this gasket made up. Had some high temp gasket paper I cut it out of, and coated it with a little bit of anti-seize in case I gotta pull this off again in the future and clean it. We'll see how well it holds up. I can always make another one. EGR valve is on. It's all plugged back in. I gotta drop that EGR line back in here. These bolt holes for the exhaust manifold bolts were a little damaged. I think the dealership that put this motor in didn't take the time to clean the threads or reused old bolts when they put it back together, but they were all mangled up, so I had to take a regular grade 8 bolt, just a spare, and I cut grooves in it with a hacksaw and kind of just made like a homemade tap, and cleaned all these bolt holes out, and they're good to go now. So after I put this line back on, I can drop the manifold in and get that all bolted up. EGR line is in, and back there and goes down. And I also dropped this AC compressor delete pulley in while I had that compressor off. This bus no longer has AC in it, so I just took it out while I had to remove it. And I can throw this belt back on and get started on the manifold. Manifold's all put together, got the new fitting in, this new studs, got the gasket all separated, and filed these down. Some of these had some sharp burrs on them, and where they drilled the holes, there were some burrs. So I went ahead and filed them down. Throw it in. I actually had to space this AC compressor delete pulley bracket and all up about an inch. This kit was bought for a pickup truck with the same engine, but I guess with the bus platform the brackets are a little bit different. So in order to make the belt fit that was already on there, I had to space it up with about 1 inch of washers on the 3 corners. And works fine now. But the manifold is on. Nice and shiny. You can see that EGR line is now on. It's back together like it should be. New studs. There's also a new gasket in there, but you can't see it. So I'm about to fire it up.
this fender well back in, but it's just the reverse of what you saw earlier. And it's basically how you do the manifold on this side. The other side of the engine is much easier because it doesn't have that EGR pipe and all that connected to it. So that really caused a little bit more work compared to what the other side was. And I could also access the one on the other side from inside the bus after taking the cover off. It was much easier, but it's all good and fixed. I guess that's it. Thanks for watching.